with Figuring It Out with Victoria, myself.
And Mr. Motherfucking David.
Don't do that.
Should we restart that?
No, it's okay. Keep rolling.
Fuck it.
So today we are going to talk about motivation and discipline, because I think based off our last topic, we talked about goals. And so setting goals. But in order to achieve those goals, well, some people think, do you need to have motivation or do you need to have discipline? Well, we think you need to have a little bit of both.
Yeah. After people took a look at or listened to the last podcast we did about goals, there was a lot of people that were like, okay, well, we asked like really honestly, what do you guys want to hear about based on how we did that first podcast? And, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know. I thought it was fucking fantastic. I'm like, no, give me some real feedback so we can like talk about things that you guys actually want to hear. So one of our members, Steve, shout out to Steve, said, I want to know about like motivation. So you guys laid out a good guideline on how to set goals, but like, how do you have the motivation to complete those goals on a consistent basis?
Right.
So I was like, that's something that definitely we could talk about in how we cultivate motivation or momentum, if you want to call it. And then what's underlying when motivation's not there.
Right. And so I think a good way to start this conversation is, David, when you think of motivation, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I have very little of it. Like very little motivation.
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real here. No one really wants to do the shit that we all fucking do.
Okay.
Like nobody, dude, like, oh my God, our dog Skipper last night, 1:30 in the morning, homie had spicy diarrhea. And so he was fucking barking in this kennel. And we're like, dude, fuck no. Do not have the motivation to get up and take this foo out.
But who had the discipline to get up?
Okay. Yesterday was my first day back at training. We did cardio, working out, and jiu-jitsu, and I was fucking beat. And so, like, I woke up at 1:30. Well, we both woke up because Skipper was crying. And she looked at me, looked at her, and I had that look, I guess, and she was like, well, I guess it's my turn to take him out. But either way, so no one really has motivation to do anything. Like, it's very, very, very little do we actually have, like, senses of motivation to do things.
I don't know, and maybe I've always thought of the term motivation and totally differently, because, like, let's just say you were to ask me that same question that I asked you. When I think of motivation, I think, I think about, I guess, visualizing the type of lifestyle I want, and like if I want to get there, that's what's motivating me. So it's like that there. Does that make sense? So, like, if you were to ask me, like, when I think of motivation, what do you think of? And I think of the lifestyle I want to live.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because that's exciting. Right. So like it's very easy. It's very easy to get caught up in excitement. Like, don't get excitement with motivation. Like when you want to start something new, that's like excitement, and you have motivation because it's exciting. But usually after the first couple of weeks and as you get into the project, it usually becomes a lot less exciting. And so because of that, your motivation starts to flee. And so then at that point, you have to have your foundations built to be able to actually get the things done that you need to get done. And a lot of the time, that shit's just not sexy at all. Like, it's not fun to do.
So you're saying basically once that motivation or the excitement of the motivation settles is where discipline comes into play.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple different things that I think of, right? This is something that's like super, super popular right now online, which is like discipline over motivation. I mean, we even have like some motivational stuff hanging up like in the gym bathrooms about discipline, things like that. But I think that there's something that also is a little bit more important when it comes to motivation, which is consistency. So like, I think what outweighs motivation, not what makes up motivation, but if you want to accomplish something, what is lying beneath motivation that you need as a foundation is discipline and consistency. So like discipline, obviously everybody knows what discipline is. Discipline is like being able to do something when you really don't feel like it. That's important. But consistency is like constantly showing up time after time after time after time after time, doing the really, really, really boring shit. So like discipline is like, yeah, you have the discipline to be able to force yourself to do those things. But consistency is like, how many times can you fucking do it over and over and over, do the same thing over and over and over
It's
again?
like eating the same meal prep for like years on end.
I mean, I've been eating, like, this is not a joke. Like, you can ask my wife, you can ask my mom, who now she helps me meal prep because she's retired, but I used to do it for a couple of years, is I have eaten the same 2 to 3 meals every single day for 6 years. Like, and that's no joke. And people think I'm lying, but dude,
he's not.
I eat ground turkey, rice, broccoli, and then chicken, rice, broccoli. Or I'll double one of those. So maybe I'll have 2 chicken meals and 1 ground turkey, or 2 ground turkey meals and 1 chicken. So I have 2 to 3 of the same meals every single day, probably 350 to 360 days out of the year. Like, every single day I eat those meals. And a lot of people have a really hard time, like, oh, like, yeah, you use a meal prep, you eat that. I'm like, dude, try eating the same fucking meal every single day for 6 years straight. Like, you gotta be fucking built different, dog. Like, you just have to be built different.
Personally, I can do it, and that's why I love our meal prep service. I don't know how we got onto this topic, but it's okay. We'll go back to discipline and whatnot.
Oh, is this a plug?
This is a plug.
Is this a fucking plug?
I'm gonna plug right now. I'm gonna plug Stars Power Plates because I am not one. I can be consistent, but I am not one to have the same thing over and over and over again. I need to have some variety in my life. So, I love my chile verde. I love my different types of foods that I can't normally.
But let's talk about, like, to get to what goal. So, like, so if your goal is like, hey, my goal is to build muscle.
Okay.
Technically, it doesn't really matter how the fuck you get it. You have the discipline to be able to eat those meal preps. Whereas a lot of people will be well, I want In-N-Out, or I want Five Guys, or I want,
It's okay, I'm bulking.
Exactly. So, like, technically, we have different types of discipline and consistency.
So I'm able to base my meals, my food, my discipline to get to my goal physique by choosing this meal service. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, exactly. Like, whereas, like, my preferred choice, my preference is I just like to, like, I'm like a dog. Like, you ever, like, feed a dog, like, when you give him his food, it's like, fuck yeah, like, it's the same shit I've been eating for fucking 8 years, but, like, I'm still excited. Like, that's kind of how I am. Like, I get happy. I'm like, oh, buffalo sauce and ground turkey. Like, damn, slap me, call me daddy. I'm gonna eat that again.
All right. So back to consistency and discipline and goals. Or no, wait. Consistency, discipline, motivation.
Yeah.
So it's a 3-factor equation, basically.
Well, so motivation gets you to start something. Like, excitement and motivation gets you to start something. Let's just say you want to start a new business. Like, that's very exciting to start a new business. It's exciting to think about the possibilities that you can get with it, with how you're going to make this part of your lifestyle and maybe your income. Like, this is going to be part of my income. That's really exciting. But now that excitement is gone and that motivation is gone, you're like, fuck, dude, this is way harder than I thought. You have to rely on your discipline, your consistency to show up and do the really boring shit.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think a big, an example that we can kind of talk about that basically has all of these three things combined is 75 hard. Yeah. Because that was a pretty hot topic for a lot of people not that long ago, especially at the beginning of the year, is during that time, it's like you're super excited and super pumped to start 75 hard. And then when you get like a week or 2 weeks in, you realize you're
usually it's like 5 to 7 days in.
Well, yeah. And then so you're like, let's just say day 10 of 75. So then that's where the discipline needs to stay put together because why? You're doing the same shit over and over. Yeah.
If you've ever done 75 hard, it's definitely something that like pushes you past your limits in terms of your discipline and consistency. Now, I wouldn't look at it as a end all see all, like this is going to solve my issues.
Right.
Because a lot of times there's like a lot of more deep rooted stuff. But if you're looking to build some type of momentum based on consistency and discipline, 75 hard is a good place to start. It's not a finish. So don't expect to do the program and then be like, all right, cool, my problems are solved. Like, you still have to continue to rely on the foundations you've built through that program possibly, and you have to be able to use those to then carry you through the non-exciting, when you lose momentum.
Right. And so, kind of circling back is that after we did 75 hard, because we did it multiple times, now, like, for example, I find myself, let's just say laundry. Who fucking loves laundry? If you love laundry, like, hit me up because I'll let you do mine, like by all means. But so there's times where I don't want to do laundry, for example, and I'm like, crap, it's already like late at night by the time we get home from the gym. I don't want to hang anything. But it's like, no, if I was able to go on our 45-minute outdoor exercise at 11 o'clock at night, I can freaking hang some clothes of laundry.
Yeah, so it's once you complete those complete those bouts of discipline and consistency where you're fucking grinding your face off for a long period of time. Once you have done those things, it's very easy to recall on those when you're having that day where you're like, fuck, man, I really don't want to clean these restrooms right now. Like, for example, in our business, it's like, we really don't want to clean these restrooms. But it's like, dude, if I woke up at 4 a.m, did my outdoor cardio, got my second workout in a couple hours later, got all my shit done for the day, still got my water, drank all my water, finished my reading, which is part of 75 Hard. Once you've done all those things, you can look back on that and be like, damn, am I really bitching out right now just to clean a bathroom? It's going to take me 15 minutes. Like, so that you use those to build a foundation so that you can look back on those and use those to help drive you forward.
So would you say that people who either say like, you have to have motivation over the discipline, or you basically kind of like ultimatums, you have to have one or the other? Like,
no.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, like, no matter what, you're going to have discipline and consistency. And we can speak from experience on this because if you've ever owned a business, it's usually not fun. Like, owning a business is usually not fun, which is why when a lot of people come to us and like, hey, I want to open a gym or open a business, I'm more than willing to sit down and help you do that. Like, I had a 2.5-hour conversation with a friend yesterday on like helping improve his business. I'm like, dude, it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be fun. But the motivation goes away. So you definitely do have to have discipline and consistency to be able to do that. But I don't think that you need motivation. I don't think motivation is a necessity. So I'm not saying you have to have one or the other, but no matter what, you need to have discipline and consistency. You don't have to have the motivation. One really good quote I heard, and I don't remember where I heard it from, was, and it was from a business gentleman. He said that you either have to own two types of businesses to be successful. Something you're extremely passionate about. Example A, our gym. We love our gym. We love working out. You have to be extremely passionate, or the other type of business is that you basically have zero vested interest in it. So like, for example, if we opened up a nickel cleaning company where you clean fucking nickels and pennies and quarters. Let's just say we did that. We refurbished, expensive quarters. Okay. We have zero interest in that at all. So you're able to make decisions based on mathematical numbers without having to have motivation. You're not like, oh, I really don't want to do this because, I love this part of the business, but it doesn't matter. You have no interest in it.
That makes sense.
So you don't have to have motivation to be able to do those things. So I don't think that you need motivation to start, but you definitely need to have discipline and consistency. So I think that you can't go anywhere without discipline and consistency.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
What's your take on it?
No, I mean, for me personally, like, I'm a very creative person. So for me personally, I see it as like, I love to start projects. Do I finish all of them? It's like starting a book. Do I finish the book? No, I usually get like halfway and then I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this anymore. Like,
that's what I'm here for.
So, exactly. That's why we're so perfect, I guess you can say, for each other, is because it's true. Like, I am the type of person where it's like, oh, I have all these like DIY ideas and like, I'm such a creative person and I love starting projects and like, give me this and I'll visualize the way to put it together and like make it beautiful. But then I'm like, I'll start it. And if I'm not in the right headspace, I'll use that as my excuse to like not finish it. And so for me, it's very, I struggle with like the discipline aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I'm a very motivated person. I'm motivated by the lifestyle I want to live. I'm motivated by what I want to see, the end goal, right? I'm super motivated by the end goal. But it's hard for me to just stay in it and just like finish it out, to get there.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's one of the things that which make businesses work really well is that you play off of each other, especially when you own a business or even in your relationship. This could be for anyone who's a couple or even like if they're in a household with other people, is that there's drivers in the relationship who are driving and there's people who are helping steer. So the people who have the map, who's helping you get to the destination you want to go, who's following through. So someone can have the heavy foot on the gas pedal and they're fucking driving, but they have no clue where they're going. So that's where the passenger comes in. So for us, I can follow through with discipline and consistency. That's not an issue for
You're
me.
a great driver.
Yeah. Well, yes, but in a lot of ways, you, like you said, you can start things like, hey, we should do this. How? And then it's like, okay, well, how do we actually implement this into the business? Or how do we actually make these things happen? So a lot of times, like in businesses, there's a CEO or someone who's a leader, and they have now separated themselves in terms of the day-to-day actions, and they're very good at driving the boat. So they're like, okay, I want to take the business here. I want to be able to do this, but they can't take the day-to-day actions to be able to do that without other people helping them. And so it's like that in relationships as well, is that there's things that Victoria and I do where it's like, hey babe, I really need to get this done. And Victoria will be like, okay, well then I'm really good at this, so let me help you with this, because if not, I wouldn't execute on it. And vice versa, where I'm like, hey babe, like for example, we just redid the restrooms at our business. I'm like, hey, I really want to make these more social media friendly. These are the things that I really want to do. And Victoria's like, cool, I'm gonna pick out the sink, and I'm gonna pick out the paint, and I'm gonna pick out the mirrors, and I'm gonna pick out the bench that people can sit on to change in. Whereas for me, I probably wouldn't have done those things. I wouldn't have followed through on those things. So I think that there's a good mix of like in a relationship in business that there's that like some people are the drivers behind the motivation, and some people are the people who execute behind it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no arguing that. I don't even know if I need to add anything, because I think you covered it pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So how would you say is what would the discussion be around motivation in terms of how do you handle motivation when you have it, because it's not always there?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Oh crap.
That's tough, huh?
That one's hard.
The way I see it is, I think that the greatest, and this is something that I learned from one of our entrepreneurship groups, and it was free game, so it wasn't like in one of our private meetings, but and maybe it was even just on a podcast I'd listened to. Maybe it wasn't one of our groups, and basically the discussion that was had is when you have momentum, how do you keep it? And the person who basically said, like, talking to very high level athletes, because this person was around them, is the difference between a champion and someone who's just really good is the champion not only knows how to stir up motivation from nothing, so helping getting his team motivated, but the biggest thing is keeping that momentum for as long as possible. So there are periods of time, like, dude, for example, when we were building those restrooms, this is really good. This is a really good tie-in. When we had those restrooms, we had taken a step back from working out for about a year and a half, because we were really building the business. And so our workouts were starting to lag. And then towards the end of 2022, in December, before we had started even redoing the restrooms, we were like starting to get back into working out. We were really building some really good momentum. Like our workouts were feeling really good. Our food was where it should be, our nutrition. And then January came, and it was like, dude, we were working 16 hours a day getting these restrooms done, like repainting, redoing the plumbing. Like Victoria and I did a lot of the work ourselves to save us like 10, 20 grand, between all the bathrooms combined. And some days, like one day we had got done at like 9:30 at night. We had been there since like 7 in the morning. So we had done like 14 hours of working on the restrooms, and we were dead fucking tired.
Right.
And so it was one of those like, dude, let's just go home. And it was like, no, like, let's go home. Take an energy drink at 9 o'clock at night, which we usually don't do, but we need to come back to work out because we can't let this momentum fade. Right. And that was really important, is that we didn't go and we didn't work out 120%. We didn't hit PRs,
no.
But it was like we kept the momentum going. And so now once that ease of not having to do extracurricular things is gone, we still have that consistency built, that momentum built from keeping those workouts going. So the difference between someone who can follow through and can be a champion is someone who can keep their momentum going no matter what. Right. So scrape that. Like in football, you have to, even if it's making 3-yard throws or 3-yard rushing plays, it's like keeping that momentum going, not getting stopped, even if it's 1 yard. Like you have to keep that momentum going. So you not only have that momentum, but try to keep that going for as long as possible.
Right. And so I guess, like, to answer your question, it's like, for me, I just try to think about, again, if I want to get to where I want to be, what do I have to do? And if I don't do those things, it's going to take me longer to get there. Yeah. Right. So if, like, I want to finish this project or I want it to come out this way, well, the longer I take, it's still not going to get done, and so it's not going to get completed.
So you might as well just get to it.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
So finish your shit.
I was hoping you wouldn't like press me, but here you are. No, I need to finish my shit.
Yeah,
So.
I think I see it as there's two periods of times in most of our lives, and it's like the time where we have momentum. Like imagine like well, actually say there's three periods of time. There's like think about like a stoplight. There's a green, a yellow, and a red. A green light is your momentum. So like it's easy. The traffic's flowing, everyone's going, like the momentum's there. Everyone's kind of going with the flow of traffic. And then yellow is like, dude, you have no more momentum, but you still need to keep going. So that's where consistency and discipline come in. It's like momentum's gone, but now you need to build foundation. So the foundation is built on your consistency and your discipline. And then the red light is there are periods of time where literally you can't do anything. For example, when a family member dies, or if a dog dies, or something serious, your house burns down, there are times where red lights do occur. And at that point in time, you have to regroup. It's like, okay, deal with what you're dealing with at that time. Things do go on the back burner, but that should only be for a small amount of time. Too many people let that destroy their progress and use it as an excuse for why they never ever move forward.
Right. And so I think it's just understanding that it's not going to be a red light forever.
Exactly. And understanding that you can't let it be a red light. Not that it's not going to, because everyone knows it's not going to, but people let it.
Right.
And you can't let things like that happen in life. Dude, we all go through it.
Yeah.
We all go through it. You know, you should elaborate on that when your dad passed away.
So, okay.
Because
we'll get there.
It was right at the business.
It was. So, September 21st, 2019, we had an open gym.
Yeah.
It was, I think, our first?
No, it was
like second or third.
It was our second open gym. So what we did is we did a 2 weekends before we opened our business, we did a kind of unconventional thing, which is basically what we've done is transparency. We let our customers drive what our business should look like.
Yeah.
And so we let people in for free before we actually opened our business, and we told people, come work out and tell us what we need to do.
Like there was stuff that wasn't put together yet. I mean, we had set barbells that had no like rack. Like it was an incomplete, but it was like demo, right?
Yeah, but we didn't want to put it together yet because we wanted members to tell us what they wanted from us before we opened our business.
Exactly. So either way, we started the open gym. Basically, without getting too much into a lot of detail, my mom comes to the gym with my brothers, and we're at the front desk, chopping up with everybody. And my mom comes in and pulls David aside, and so I could feel that something's off, and I'm getting like, ugh. I could feel that something's off. And I was basically like, okay, like what's going on? And then David stops and turns or, basically finds me. I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's going on?
Something's going on.
And so then my mom tells me, Mija, your papa passed away. Your papa, whatever. And so I was like, what? Like in disbelief, right? So that day after the open gym, we were supposed to have me a 21st birthday party. And I was in shock because it was like, oh crap, like he was supposed to go to my party. Like, what do you mean? My birthday's like right after this open gym. Like, what's going on? Sure enough, went to where he passed and waited for the coroner, to finish doing what they were doing. And then after, my mom dropped me back off at the gym. Right? I think that's what happened. I mean, I know it's kind of fuzzy, but
well, you can get into that a little bit. Like, it wasn't expected. It was unexpected, but her dad was going down a bad path that Victoria really tried to help him get off of. And so it was one of those like, when it happened, it was unexpected because they didn't expect it to happen, but it was one of those like, it wasn't like, we just didn't think it was going to be yet.
Yeah.
And so
it was basically, like you said, it was unexpected because I thought we had got him on a good path.
Yes.
And the fact that path he ended up straying away, made it unexpected.
Yes.
Because he was expected to go to the party.
Okay.
Either way, because the whole scenario events, I knew that there was nothing else I could do, that was it. And so I ended up going back to the gym. And everybody was like, well, do you still want to have the party? Do you still want to do this? Like, people were inside the gym, and I was like, no, the party will still happen. We'll still do it. you know, I'm fine. It's okay. Like, you know, whatever. So either way, it continued on. And yeah.
Well, and what I'm saying is that like for a couple of days, like before we opened the gym, because it was a week before we opened the gym,
Yeah.
it was kind of like, okay, we need to take a red light here and like situate ourselves from what just happened.
Right.
So after that day was over, it was like, okay, let's situate ourselves, figure out what's going on, try to get through this process and grief and all that stuff that come along with anyone passing away that's close to anyone. And then it was like, okay, well, this happened. What can we do about it? Let's do what we can do about it, you know, whether it's with the family or with, you know, with yourself.
Right, because at that point, we're like T minus however many days from opening the gym, and now funeral arrangements need to get made. And
Exactly.
because I was super close with him, I had to like start arranging that and figuring that out to get like figuring that all out with family and whatnot. So that's kind of where we had to take that red light and that pause of like, okay, we have finished the open gym. We have this many days until the gym opens, but not that that was a priority right now. I was like, okay, what do we have to do to make sure that this, I don't want to say that this chapter is closed, but to kind of deal with this and then continue on.
It would have been, in a lot of people's situations, they would have used that as an excuse. Oh, we need to push the business back. We can't open right now. Or maybe this just isn't right. You know, it's very easy to let those types of situations control your decisions. And it was like, no, let's process this. So process it for, you know, a couple of days, understand what happened, and then let's make sure we continue to move forward.
Right.
And that's what happened. And Victoria's extremely strong for being able to do that. And so it was one of those, okay, red light, regroup. Now it's time to go to the green light. And so let's, or go to the yellow, use consistency and the discipline that we had built that year to continue to move forward. It's emotional.
Third episode and we're crying.
third episode and we're into the tears already.
Yeah, but it was hard, you know, but I think it goes back to like the idea of like when unexpected, expected, you know, deaths happen, I think you think, okay, what would they have wanted, right? And it's like we just had to, like we had like, you know, I wasn't gonna let myself just sit or stop you or stop us from getting to where we wanted to go.
Exactly.
And so that's basically the point. It was like we had this major red light, less than 2 weeks of opening the gym, and it just continued.
Yeah.
Basically. You know, we like let ourselves have that moment that we needed. Like you said, regrouped and just continued on.
Yeah.
So I still had my 21st birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that was a lot of fun. And I think that was unexpected for a lot of people because for sure, like everybody thought we were just going to end up canceling it. And I said, no, we still want to have it. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, you're good. I'll wait. So let me take my red light and put myself together.
So that was a good example. I mean, not to put you on the spot or you putting yourself on the spot. I basically put you on the spot. But the reason I put you on the spot is because I know you're comfortable enough sharing that story. And I think that there's a lot of people who don't know that story. Right. And I think that that's a really good way to that people can understand just that, like, we all go through the same things. So running a business or being in a relationship or marriage has those times of red, green, of red, yellow, and green of like, hey, you have momentum in your relationship, honeymoon phase. Everyone has a honeymoon phase. Yeah. You have the yellow phase where it's like, okay, that's when we were building our business, where it was like, hey, we're working, we're grinding our faces off. We really don't have time to be romantic, go out on dates. It's like, and then there's those red light periods where it's like, dude, family member passing away. It's like we need to put everything on the side for now, for at least a short time being, until we can get back to that green light.
Right.
So I think that was a good story that we brought up that helps people understand that even in the worst situations, shit still needs to get done.
Right.
And a lot of times it's like, okay, well, how about minimizing the goals? Okay, well, what's one thing I can do today to keep that consistency going? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with one of our members actually yesterday. And I was asking him and I said, oh, how's so-and-so doing? I'm not going to mention their names out there. I was like, oh, but how's so-and-so doing? And he was like, oh, she's good. Just doing lots of schoolwork, work and everything. And she has a big test coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're good. I'm just making sure your mic's all good.
Fucking with my shit. Don't want me to talk again? And so basically he was like, I'm busy too. I have my test that I just finished doing. He was like, but we're in the season where it's like we're both understanding and we're both communicating with each other that right now.
Really important.
He's like, we're both communicating with each other that right now it's just a season where it's like, hey, you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I need to do, because ultimately by us doing our individual things, we're going to be able to come back together and we're both going to be in a position where we want to be, which is important because he's not taking any offense to her not texting him as much or like basically acknowledging him as much, and he's not taking offense he's not taking offense to her doing her thing, and she's not taking offense to him doing his thing, because they both understand that, hey, if we want to get to where we want to be as a couple, right, as a goal, we each need to get our individual shit together.
And you have to take the time to understand, like, at that point in time, you both have to have discipline and consistency to focus on your own stuff.
Exactly. And not be offended of one or the other, because then if one starts letting go of their goals a little bit to support this person, now one person's falling short, and then that's where resentment can come in. And that's where difficulties could come in, because then it's like, oh, I supported you through all this, like you're not supporting me, and I didn't get to finish this because I was supporting you, and then the fingers start happening. And so it's like, it's okay to have those like yellow light moments, with the understanding of like, it's just temporary and we're going to go back to the green light, that's the goal. But it's just having that, having that communication, and then having the discipline to know that it's like, this isn't forever. This is just a moment. Like, we're going to get through this, and then, that's it. But again, it all goes towards working towards that goal, right?
Yeah, well, that's kind of what we talked about the last episode, was like having those goals and then building, like, and now we're talking about the consistency, discipline, and motivation to have those. So it's I guess it's easy to be motivated when both you guys are, like on top of your shit and everything like that. But sometimes that separation has to occur. It's like, hey, I just got to focus on my shit right now. I have to use my foundations to make sure I'm on top of my stuff.
Yeah.
And the other significant other should be understanding of that. So communication is a whole nother episode that we'll talk about. Because communication, I think, is the number one trait out of everything in a relationship. I think communication trumps everything. So that's a different episode for a different time. So
yeah.
But yeah, so to wrap it up without keeping this too long and rambling on over and over again and over again.
I know, you already made me cry enough.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think we were going to get emotional.
Come on, guys. There's a trend. If the first episode, he silenced me in the 30 seconds if you watch the YouTube.
Look at the mic fucking shut off.
This one, he's making me cry. Guys, I need help. I'm just kidding.
Someone's going to call her and be like, CPS? No, that's Child Protective Services.
All right, now you're calling me a child. I'm just kidding. But to wrap it up, okay, so we started with motivation. Recap on that.
Motivation. Everyone gets it when it's exciting.
Right.
When you're excited about something, motivation easily gets established in your mind.
All right. Discipline.
Discipline is keeping yourself accountable. Like, discipline is like making sure that you're accountable.
And then wiggled in between is Mr. Consistency.
Consistency is just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Because a lot of times we don't need to do anything different. We need to just do the same thing more or better.
Cool.
Yeah.
Those are the three main things.
Yeah, that's cool. Steve, thank you for giving the suggestion on motivation. If it does not live up to the episode you thought it was going to be, you know where to find me at the gym, and you can punch me in the chin.
No, but we really want to hear suggestions, feedback, and everything from you guys on what you guys want to hear. Again, the point of our podcast is that we're just figuring it out. Right? Yeah. We are literally figuring it out. We're not saying we're experts on any of this stuff. We're not saying we're like better or worse. We're just figuring this out, and this is just us letting you guys know, like, hey, this is what happened. This is how we figured it out during these moments, and this is what we're doing.
We sure the hell don't have a insane foundation built of our own. So we're constantly being challenged every single day. The way that we talk about other people, it's like we still have days where we don't want to do certain things or we don't want to execute, and so. These are all things that are built over time. We don't just have them ingrained in us.
Right.
So you have to build the consistency and the discipline over time, and the motivation comes and goes.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So
I think that's it, dog.
I think we're good.
Cool. Well, appreciate you guys listening to another episode of Figuring It Out. If you guys have any suggestions, questions, comments, concerns, then you can keep that to yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
No, put it in the comments below if you're watching YouTube, or if you find this on any other platform. You can always find us on Instagram, and our handles are on there. Are our handles on there?
Yeah, my handle is David Fig, so easy David, and then FIGG, and yours is?
Mine is _Victoria Fig, 2 G's, because David says 2 is better than 1.
Everything comes better in pairs.
Oh.
Cool.
All right, guys.
We'll call it there. Later.